So Fantasy Island, bro, like you ever like watch the movie and not had like super high expectations, but like you watch the movie and you're like, damn, like this movie really resonated with me and it kind of had like an impact on you. Has it ever happened to you?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of
Yeah,
course.
that wasn't this movie at all. No, no, no. But seriously, like, have you ever seen a movie that was like so bad, but it was so bad that it was really good?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it
That wasn't this movie either. This shit
yes,
was
it was.
terrible.
No, bro, you're
We're
crazy,
gonna
man.
fight. We're gonna
You're
fight for the next half
crazy.
an hour.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Film Frequency. I am one of your hosts, the the illustrious Hayes is in the building. What's going on? And I'm joined by my brother, the prodigal one, JB. What's up, bro?
What's going on, Hayes? What's going on, film family? Ready to get into this episode? Talk some
Yes, sir.
movie.
Yes, sir. But before we get into it, a couple of news items, if you don't mind. So we talked a little bit on the last Keeping It Real about Birds of Prey and its box office. It was really a large portion of the show. So we're coming out of the second weekend, and the second weekend did not have that much of a drop off. So it seems like the name change is working. I think it made $20 million this weekend. It did 33 million its first weekend. Now the projection is saying it's going to make anywhere between 200 and 250 million worldwide, and it's expected to now be able to cross $100 million domestically. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely healthy. From where it started, no one can complain about that. And I mean, to be honest with you, even at the beginning of this, if someone was to say, "Hey, it's gonna, do a quarter billion," no one's gonna argue with that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, and I don't know if it was the name change as much. I don't know if just word of mouth, because it did get good reviews. It has a good cinema score as well. If people just said, you know what, the movie's not that bad, and people decided to show up and really try to come out the second weekend, and it had some competition this weekend as well, with Sonic coming out and Sonic being very
Oof.
solid as well.
Sonic shocked the shit out of me. I mean, 56 mil? That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't. First, video game movies never do huge. Like I think uh of course the Pokemon movie really did really good numbers for a video game, but that's kind of its own thing. I kind of put that to the side. But yeah, it surprised me with how good it was. And maybe we'll do a review on it later. I plan to do something with my kids on it too, because I coming into that movie, I had no expectations. So when I was watching it, like even within the first 10 15 minutes, I was like, you know what, this is actually pretty good.
The movie's really good. I don't want to go into it too much because, yeah, I mean, if you end up not doing a review with your daughter, we can definitely do a review. But I did a written review and I posted it on Facebook. I got a chance to see it today, and pleasantly shocked is all I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
yeah. We had to kick the well, he kind of kicked himself out of the group as well. Did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah.
We got to drop elbows when it's necessary.
Oh man, it is what it is. Trolls are gonna troll, but nonetheless, we are here this week to discuss a movie that we both had on our most anticipated of the year list, actually. And that is Fantasy Island, which I got to watch with my daughter. She was me and her were watching it, and while we were both watching it, we were just like, you know what? Not to bury the lead here, but two movies saw this weekend, two solid movies. What do you think, bro?
So Fantasy Island, bro, like you ever like watch the movie and not had like super high expectations, but like you watch the movie and you're like, damn, like this movie really resonated with me and it kind of had like an impact on you. Has it ever happened to you?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of
Yeah,
course.
that wasn't this movie at all. No, no, no. But seriously, like, have you ever seen a movie that was like so bad, but it was so bad that it was really good?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it
That wasn't this movie either. This shit
yes
was
it was.
terrible.
No, bro, you're
We're
crazy,
gonna
man.
fight. We're gonna
You're
fight for the next half
crazy.
an hour.
You're
This movie was
crazy.
terrible.
I don't know what's been up your ass lately, but you've been on one with the like becoming a film critic for you is the worst thing possible because it's like I know you like some horrible movies. For you to say this was terrible, I can't follow, bro.
This movie was terrible, bro. Come on, man. Okay, listen. Here's the thing. We're gonna break it all down, but
Uh-huh.
the concept, 100% behind.
Hmm.
However, this is not their concept because they're going off the freaking 1970s TV show, so it's not fully their concept.
Well, I wouldn't say that because it's nothing like the TV show.
Well, the concept of the TV show was they go on the island and they get to live out their fantasies, pretty much.
True, but this was a completely different
It's a
take and
twist.
genre than that. Yeah. So I think that there's enough in it that it was. You can say that it was their take on it because it's so far removed from the Fantasy Island TV show that I really think it's one of those things where they probably came up with the movie, they had the script, and they're like, you know what? Let's throw Fantasy Island on there for brand recognition because I could see this not being related to that.
Just so you know, you say this almost every week.
But it's
It's probably
that's
true though.
that's how unoriginal shit is nowadays. Like like the whole thing. Like there's so many. Like most of the Die Hard movies weren't Die Hard scripts. That's been proven. Most of the like a big chunk of them were not Die Hard scripts, but they turned into Die Hard movies. Same thing with Mission Impossible at this point now. They're taking action movie scripts and just saying, oh, well, we can throw Tom Cruise in it. It's a Mission Impossible movie. And that's what I feel like's happening. It's now going out to other genres as well.
Well, speaking about genres, this is a quote unquote horror movie, and the horror is bad. I mean, horror as in horrible. I mean, it's not good. I mean, it's all the what's supposed to be a scare jump, or I should say a jump scare, 100% predictable.
Scare jump, bro. Come on now, man.
This movie got me so pissed off right now that I don't even know what I'm saying. But the story is convoluted. The acting is friggin' terrible. Outside of Maggie Q, I don't even remember what her character's name was. The acting is terrible in the movie. Just so many plot holes, numerous amount of plot holes. In addition to that, the 4 different timelines, or how many ever different timelines that they had, I know they tried to connect them, but it seemed off. The movie didn't flow to me, and honestly, I felt like this movie was long as shit. Even though the movie was only like an hour and a half, I felt like it should have really been more like an hour and 10 minutes. Because
wait. There were no diverging timelines in this movie. You mean storylines?
Yeah, the storylines is what I'm talking about.
Okay,
each character had their own separate like storyline. But
yeah. I just wanted to make sure you said timeline, so I was like, wait, let's
well,
get that
no. Well, actually, I mean, they did have. I mean, the one character with his dad, that timeline was kind of more like I don't know if it was like a Vietnam type of timeline. It was more back in the day during war times. But
well, everyone's story was its own thing, but they were all supposed to be taking place now. It's just that that was their current fantasy. So I don't think the time they were set in different timelines necessarily. That's just the fantasy that they were living out at that time.
Right. And also another issue I had, and I usually like seeing this and hearing this, but not when it's beat to death. But they had so many different cliches and so many, you just mentioned Die Hard. When they went into the room with all the guns, it was like yippee-yi-yay, it was a nod to the yippee-yi-yay motherfucker, although he didn't say that. It was like yippee-yi-yay. I forgot what the actual line was, but they was doing a lot of cliche shit in this movie, and I hate seeing it overdone.
Well, bro, it's supposed to be like that. So, and that's the thing. It's like, and I get your critique on it, but it's not really cliche in the sense that there's people living out their fantasies. So it's going to happen. Like it made sense in the way that they were telling the story. If you're living out your fantasy and your fantasy is to be in a Die Hard movie, you're going to play out those tropes that are in those movies. So I don't see it as much as cliche as I see it as just tropes that apply.
But I'm not saying, not to cut you off, I'm not saying the fact that they went into the room, there's all these guns. I'm talking about the actual dialogue. There was a lot of cliche dialogues where they were referencing other movies. And like I said, I'm usually okay with that, but it was done so many times in this movie.
Yeah, it's because people are living out their fantasy, bro. I think you're being way too harsh on this one, man.
No, man.
Way too harsh.
I'm usually, as you even just said before, I'm super open to movies, and I'm usually very critical and not harsh. But the movie was blah to me. I'm being real.
Wait, I'm not saying it's earth shattering or anything, and there's a reason why it's released when it was. But I think that when you look at the type of movie it is, it was Blumhouse, so it's gonna have a horror tinge to it. But I really think that this movie was one that it didn't take itself too seriously. It's in the concept to where it wouldn't take itself too seriously. I think that the way that they try to blend everything together at the end, that's where it started getting convoluted to me. But everything leading up to that was kind of just is what it is. Like I understood it in the world that they set this in. It's going to be corny, and I think that I really don't think how else you could have told this story in any of a better way other than having those tropes, having those cliches, having those corny, like with horror. And everything that we say, a lot of horror movies have their corny, the classics have their corny ass moments. Like I think nowadays, because we're so used to movies of this level living on Netflix or living on a streaming platform first, that we judge it harder when it's theatrical. If this movie would have came out in the early 2000s, it would have fit in what was going on. It's just now movies like this come direct to Hulu, especially with the Into the Dark series. That's what this kind of felt like. It felt like one of the entries Into the Dark, which is the Hulu exclusive Blumhouse show where they come out with a movie once a month. But even with that, taking all that out of the way, just judging the movie off what it is, regardless of what platform you see it was solid for me.
Yeah, and I think that another issue which I didn't talk about was the fact that Blumhouse is behind this.
Mhm.
Blumhouse has been pretty solid over the years. I mean, a lot of big stuff. They did Get Out, and I won't go into the whole list, but last year they came out with Truth or Dare, which a lot of people, basically what I'm saying about this movie now, about Fantasy Island right now, a lot of people shit all over Truth or Dare last year, and I actually liked it. And I was one of those people that actually liked Truth or Dare, even though a lot of people said it was horrible. It was basically what you just said. It had the cliches and everything, but it was like that fun, I enjoyed it. It was horror and I had fun with it. This though, the acting was, at least in my opinion, was terrible outside of Maggie Q. Michael Pena, who I'm usually okay with, he was not that great. I don't know,
He
man.
wasn't him. They didn't let him be him. Like I would towards the end of the movie we get more of that, but I wish they would have just let Michael Pena be him, like his goofy self. Like him playing the serious role just didn't fit. He seemed uncomfortable
Of
being the
course.
serious. Yeah.
And the last 25 minutes of this movie is really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah, it jumps the shark the
convoluted
last
and
one.
it's just a
Yeah.
mess. I don't know
Yeah.
what they were trying to do if they didn't really have an idea. They're like, listen, we're just going to throw a bunch of shit at the wall and hopefully something sticks with whoever's watching it.
I mean, if they wouldn't have tried to loop everything back in the way that, and I hate when it's the twist of like, oh, because okay, this is why I hate the twist, and we get into full spoilers. We kind of been jumping all around here. Is that the thing that I hate about this movie with the twist is that if that character, and I forgot her name, knew
Lucy
the
Hale's
whole
character,
time that she was, yeah, the female, the who ends up being the bad guy,
I think it's
if
Ellen.
she was ultimately always knew that she was living out her fantasy and she wanted to get revenge on all these people, her whole storyline doesn't make sense because she wouldn't have gone through all of that if she knew. Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. That part is convoluted. That's why I say I think that if you take away that ending and them trying to link all these stories together, all back to this one person, I really do think that your opinion on this may have been different, and many other people's opinion may be different, because that right there, it takes a movie that was already corny, meaning to be corny, and once you do something that's stupid, now I a lot of people, I can't even trust the corniness that I would have taken, because you've just done too much at this point.
I agree. And in addition to that, we're talking about the the twist
Yeah.
and the reveal. Horrible. Lucy Hale's bro, think about it for a second. You had one date with this dude and you're ready to kill 6, 7 people on do revenge and you went on a date with this dude for one time. That's ridiculous. What I think would have been a better role, a better play was I think Julia, who was Michael Pena's wife. If they didn't do that angle and they had Julia turn out to be Nick, who's the guy that got burned, the guy that Lucy Hale's character, like, that was his mom, then I can understand, like, yo, they killed my son. They didn't look out for my son. They had a chance to save my son. They didn't. Now this is my revenge. That, I think, would have been a better twist. But they decided to go with Lucy Hale's being pissed off because they killed, they didn't save her friend who she went on one date with.
Yeah, yeah. Now that part I can agree with, like that storyline. And the funny thing is, like, her story with like the her high school bully, and then them like figuring stuff out and going on that journey together. That was all okay to me.
Agreed.
Then you go into the twist, and it's just like, all right, you're doing too much.
Yeah, and you said it. I think they tried to do. This is one of those cases where they try to do too much,
Yeah.
and none of it is good. I agree with you. That Lucy Hale's storyline with the bully and everything was good. I actually enjoyed it. However, none of it matters because none of that is her fantasy anyway.
Exactly. And it's just yeah, that part was convoluted as hell. What did you think about the brothers and their storyline?
So, if I have to actually pick something in terms of what I enjoyed, it was them. And it was more of what's the Asian guy's name? Is it
Uh, I don't even
I
know.
forgot what his name is. I
Yeah.
think his real name is Jimmy Wang though, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But anyway, I enjoyed him. He had a lot of funny moments, at least for me, a lot of funny moments in the film. The other brother was he was kind of like again a kind of a cliche person. Really, every single person in this movie
It was all
was.
cliche. It was all
Yeah,
cliche.
I was about to say every single person was into a particular trope or into a particular category, and I guess that's how they wanted it. Just not this just wasn't my cup of tea. I mean, didn't really, I'm just being real. And I think because I was hyping it so much in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and because I wanted to be so good, and because Blumhouse is behind it, and because we've had a slew of crappy movies in January, I was just dying for something to be good, and I thought it would be this, and it wasn't.
So Maggie Q's story with the daughter before the twist. Did you enjoy that one?
Maggie Q, yeah, with that. Well, first, before even the daughter, it was the guy she liked.
Mm-hmm.
She never said yes when the guy proposed. That was kind of eh. Her acting was really good though. Of all the people in this film, her acting was the strongest, I believe. I don't know if I necessarily enjoyed her particular storyline. I definitely didn't. The brothers, their storyline was just they just wanted to have. Well, in one brother's case, he wanted to have hot girls. The other brother wanted hot boys, and just partying. And who was the other person? I don't even remember who the other person was. Oh, the
uh,
dude, the army dude.
yeah, the army guy with his father, and see, I enjoyed that story too. Like when his father was like, "Why do you have my dog tags?" That's like that moment exchange between them is nobody's saying that they're fucking Grammy, they're gonna win the Grammys for this acting, but that was probably the
Oscar, you
best.
mean?
Yeah, well, fucking any of that shit. It was really, I think it was nice acting between those two characters, and for this movie, and yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it at all.
I know, I agree with that. Also, I don't remember because I didn't make any notes or anything, but at one point in this movie, I don't remember who the character was, but I'm like, holy shit, is that Joaquin Phoenix? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I know
I was
exactly what
like,
you're talking
bro,
about.
now this shit's about to get good. But
No,
obviously,
that's the old guy from Sons of Anarchy is what I know him for
it
man.
looked just like Joaquin Phoenix. I was like, what the hell?
They did kind of frame it the same. He had the same hairstyles he did in the Joker and stuff, so I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did so all right. Damn, bro, I can't believe you hated this movie like you did. I not that I expect
I
you to
won't
like
say
be head
hate,
over
but
heels for
dislike.
it, but okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, so what okay, here's my thing. Do you think that them categorizing it as or trying to make it a horror film is what ultimately holds it back? Because in my mind, like while there are some like the whole joining narrative being horror, the whole uh Lucy Hale storyline being horror tinge, I like. But I think that if they would have made like each person's fantasy be its own genre and not try to make the overall movie horror, like for example, the brothers could have been straight action, Maggie Q's could have been romance or whatever, and then we have this like in that way when we switch back and forth between these stories, we're getting such a different genre within itself that it would have made it a little bit better. And I also think this movie isn't a horror movie, even with the narrative and everything. It thriller, you're pushing it there. I think what they tried to go for something like Shutter Island and they just weren't as good with it. But I think that this could have been a good thriller, but trying to even in the marketing market it as a horror movie is it's kind of misleading.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that assessment. For me, like I know I understand where you're coming from. Thrillers pushing it. I would have probably put it down as like comedy thriller or
Okay.
comedy mystery type of
Hmm.
thing. But horror, that's reaching. I
Yeah.
mean, they put it in a couple different things trying to make it horror. It was very far from horror, in my opinion.
And even my daughter, when I brought it up to her and she watched the trailer, she was like, "That doesn't seem very scary." And I was like, "Yeah, it doesn't really, but maybe they just don't." I was like, "Did you check the Red Band trailer?" She was like, "Yeah, that's the one I watched." I'm just like, "Huh, yeah, it doesn't really, huh." Okay, okay, well,
Honestly, I knew coming into it was horror, but what I was more expecting to see, and you took the words right out of my mouth, was something more of a Shutter Island in the way that there's gonna be some crazy twist that's gonna make you think. And I honestly thought like we're gonna get some like WTF moments, like oh crap, that's crazy, and we
mm,
got none of that. When I realized where they were going with this, It reminded me of, for those who've seen the old TV show Lost. It was kind of like, in a way, like
Okay.
Lost. Like they're on this island and all this crazy shit is happening. But I think we all can agree, and we saw what happened towards like the end of Lost. It just became a convoluted mess, and that's how this movie was when it ended, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It did. Like, and I can't even hate on that joining narrative. And while I can't try to support it, I can hate on it all day because it took a movie that was decent, that I enjoyed, and it was just like, oh God, why, like, and I've said before, like, it's important to stick the landing with movies because sometimes even movies that are great, like I think, for example, Glass is a really great movie, but that ending pisses you off so much that it just makes me hate the whole movie. And I didn't enjoy this one as much as Glass, even in the parts that I did like. But I don't know if I was surprised by it or what, but I really did enjoy this film. What do you think about the fact that they try to set it up to be a franchise? That they try to set it up for sequels. Do you think we're going to get it? And we'll talk about box office after that.
You think they're trying to set up for a sequel?
Absolutely. Like when with them setting up that the Asian brother is actually Tattoo, who is his sidekick in the TV show. I do think they're trying to set it up for a sequel. I really think that just like with Escape Room is having sequels, and they really kind of
Yeah,
planned it to be like the new Saw. I do think they're gonna try to do a sequel with this, especially when you look at what they made this movie for only $7 million.
correct. It was a $7 million budget. I think they're doing like over 21 million worldwide so far.
Yeah.
But that tattoo thing, I thought that was just them just giving a nod to the old show. Obviously, I didn't really pick up the vibe that it's gonna be a sequel.
Anytime some people do, I look, maybe that's just me because it's so sequelitis in movies nowadays. They try to set everything up for sequels and universes. It's the moment I saw that I was like, oh, they're gonna try to do another one.
It's just that, especially, well, actually, no, they can do a Fantasy Island without obviously the same characters. I
Yeah.
mean, they'd probably bring back Michael Pena and probably bring back Jimmy Yang, but
Yeah.
nobody else. So I can see it. And if they do, I mean, the concept is great. It's just that they have to get the right cast and right story. If there is a sequel, I would definitely watch. But they need to get a new friggin' director because this director is ass, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that they can set it up and make it like a Twilight Zone type thing if they want to keep it in the horror genre. I think, like, for example, like with Happy Death Day, which is also a Blumhouse movie, correct?
I'm not sure, but I love that movie. I love both
Yeah,
parts
and
of that
and
movie.
and and Happy Death Day 2 went completely left of it just being straight up horror. Like it went completely into it really being like an action horror comedy, all types of different things. So I can see this playing in that realm, and I think for Blumhouse to survive, and I get it, Blumhouse makes horror movies and they make them for cheap, and that way they almost always make money. But I think for ultimately what Blumhouse can do is to really make movies that don't have a genre.
Well, once Blumhouse's name is on it, people are going to automatically assume thriller horror
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
that his name is thriller horror. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know how hands I know initially, like when they were first on their rise, he was hands-on with all these movies and he was hands-on producing all of them and everything. I really when and Blumhouse for a while there had a tone. Like you knew a Blumhouse movie when you watched it. Now that they have TV shows and they're doing theatrical releases and straight to Netflix releases and straight to Hulu releases, and they have all these different deals and everything that they're working on. It's like I wonder how much of stuff going astray somewhat is because he can't be as hands-on with all the projects as he is.
I know, like, I don't think Blum had anything, like, not even produced nothing, EP nothing with this film, and Truth or Dare as well. I don't believe he had anything to do with it. So it's just his studio, and that's it. It's just the Blumhouse name. The man himself, Blum, has nothing to do with these movies, and you
Yeah.
can tell the movies that he has something to do with. You can see the difference in
Halloween,
quality.
like he is he. I think that's really what's taking most of his attention. If I'm being honest, I think the Halloween and the sequels, like he's so wrapped up in those. Like he was on the Bill Simmons podcast talking about these Halloween sequels, and you can tell that he is there every step of the way on those. And maybe he's so focused on that right now that the rest of the movies is kind of like, look, make them for cheap, we'll put them out. Like just keep the budget low.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like the movies like Fantasy Island. These are the movies that are just bringing in a revenue stream. But the
Yeah.
Halloween, those are the movies that are going to pay the bills, and those are going to be the big box office, or at least
And
that's what he's probably thinking.
didn't I? And correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they making a Friday the 13th movie?
I believe so. And I
So
also heard they're remaking Nightmare on Elm Street as well.
okay, okay, and I would love like I know you weren't as big a fan as the new Halloween movie, but I love that Halloween movie, and I would love to see them like bring back some of those old slashers from the '80s and everything. So we'll see what that means with Blumhouse. Ultimately, I guess we can talk about Blumhouse some more, but I want to kind of finish off on Fantasy Island before we get into like speculation on Blumhouse in the studio and everything. What was your favorite part? You said a lot of bad. What was your favorite part on Fantasy Island?
My favorite part was literally Jimmy Yang's line when after they figured out the reveal and why Lucy Hills is doing all this, he literally goes, and that was my feeling as well. Like, damn, she went out with him one
One
time.
time? Yeah,
I was
yeah,
laughing. I was laughing. I'm like literally all this because of one time.
yeah. Hey,
What
it
about
must
you?
have been fire. Um, um, I'm trying to think my favorite moment. Um,
When the credits
honestly,
rolled?
huh?
When the credits rolled?
No, because I enjoyed the movie overall. It was just that last part that just completely frustrated the hell out of me. I think when Maggie Q was going back and she got the redo on her fantasy, that whole exchange between her and the other woman, which I'm forgetting her name, and Michael Pena, I can see the desperation, and as a father, that kind of got to me. So that was one of my favorite moments in this movie.
Yeah, Maggie Q was one of the highlights in the film.
Why do you think she doesn't work more?
I don't know. Maybe
She she had the whole La Femme Nikita TV series for a while, and I know she did that. And that kind of explained why she was out of film for a while. But it's like she's a great actress. I don't understand why she's not bigger, and she's not in more like she's action roles. Like I don't know why they don't use her at all. I think she was in a Mission Impossible movie
I
at
think
one
so
point
too.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, some people just pick and choose what they want to be in, or they pick and choose how many films in a particular year or 2 year span they're going to be in. So, that's probably what she's doing.
yeah,
But she has the ability to be in literally anything. And I mean, her acting is great.
yeah, for sure. All right, so I mean, what's your overall ranking for this movie then?
I don't think it's the worst movie of the year, so it's not that bad. Although I shredded it a little bit, but uh, if I'm gonna go ahead and I usually like to do my ratings out of 5 stars. I'm gonna go ahead and probably in the same category of like a turning. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 2 out of 5 stars.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Fair enough. I'm higher than you. Like I said, it's not even though I
You got to be if you like this freaking movie.
it's three. It's a three out of five for me. Like, but again, let me preface that by saying I'm the type of person who literally, when nothing's going on, will sit there and watch a random horror movie on Netflix and enjoy it. Like, it doesn't matter how bad. Like, I just enjoy the genre that much. But I don't think this one was as bad as you're letting on. I don't think it was great or anything. I think that this one, once it's on Netflix, I think it's gonna have a nice amount of streams because I think people are gonna enjoy it for being able to sit at home and watch it.
I'm just curious, and I know this doesn't mean crap, but I'm just curious. So just give me 1 second. Tomato, Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think the tomato meter score is?
I'm imagining like 35%.
I'm gonna tell you this now before I tell you what it is. I've seen thousands of films, and I've checked
Uh-huh.
Rotten Tomatoes hundreds of times. I've never seen a rating this low in my life.
All right,
Nine
what is it?
percent.
It's what
9%.
from? Is that critics or users?
That's tomato.
I,
Critics.
Critics. Okay, what is it for users?
46%.
That I
Which
can
basically
understand.
falls in line with my rating.
Yeah, that I can understand. I can understand that completely.
But
Um,
9%, even for critics, that's super harsh. I never seen anything that low before. 9%? Jesus.
hey, I mean, I this isn't going to be like first of all, the genre is already ranked terribly usually by critics. So it's not that many horror movies that are getting positive ratings anyway. And this one, especially with that ending, I can completely understand it.
Yeah, and mark my words, this will be true. What I'm about to say, it's going to end up being true. I understand they did to about 21 million, 21.6 million worldwide right
Hmm.
now. But I think that's large in part because people were anticipating this movie, such as you and I. Blumhouse's name behind it. But once reviews start coming out, and I haven't read or watched any reviews really, but if they're as bad as this, I mean, you gave it a 3 stars, so that's not too bad. But I would have to probably think majority of the people are more in line with what I'm thinking, maybe a 2.5 star. If the reviews are negative, that box office number is gonna dwindle really quick.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. We'll see how it does in the second week. It got 21, 22 million this first weekend. I'd say next weekend, I said we're looking at about a $4 or $5 million next weekend.
Yeah, I was literally thinking about 3 to 4 million.
Yeah.
Only because I think, well, again, I haven't looked at the reviews, but if reviews from critics and everybody else are strong, then it'll do way better than that. But if it's like more in the long lines of what I'm saying, even what you're saying, you're kind of in the middle. I don't see it being. It's going to be under 5 million, no matter.
Okay.
It's going to be under 5.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Especially what you got Brahms coming out next week, so Brahms is going to be strong in the box office.
Yeah.
At least I think so.
Especially the first week, it's going to be strong.
Plus, the fact that Sonic has been doing so well, you got to think people are going to want to go out and watch that as well.
Yeah, true. And that one is a family movie.
Right.
So kind of the last thing that I want to talk about before we go, JB, is kind of what we got into a little bit now with Blumhouse. Blumhouse turns out a lot of horror movies. Have you watched any of the Into the Dark series on Hulu at all?
I have not.
So it's been on for about a year and a half. Like I said, they release one horror movie a month on that show. So there's been about 15 of them so far. Out of those 15, I'd say 4 are really good. But okay, with that being said, and I believe they're involved in the Twilight Zone series too. But okay, I'm getting sidetracked. But with Blumhouse releasing these cheap horror movies that always turn some type of profit, when do you think it's the viewers are going to turn on Blumhouse? And I say that because we talk about like oversaturation with superhero movies and the fact of that bubble is going to burst at some point. But the thing that keeps that from happening with Marvel movies are they're usually good. With stuff like this coming out and the critics and users not really liking it as much as they were, as much as it seems, do you think it's ever going to get to a point where Blumhouse is going to stop cranking out so many movies and just focus on releasing good movies and not the quality over quantity? What do you think?
It'll never happen. They're going to continue to whip out content regardless of the quality, because at the end of the day, it's all about the almighty dollar. And because the movies are done for such small budgets, they're going to turn a profit, like you mentioned. However, going to your original question, at some point, people are going to start turning. Yeah. Now, the only way that he can stay relevant or avoid a total just protest and strike on him is, and probably the smartest way to go about this is, yes, do your content that's not really doing that well, still making some profit, but he has to make sure that at least once per year he throws out a blockbuster. Yeah. Because that blockbuster is what's going to keep everyone wanting to watch the next year. And when everyone starts failing and starts saying, "Oh, we're done," bring out another blockbuster. And now, if he can't hold and he can't bring out these blockbusters, like I know, like Halloween is supposed to probably be a major one. If that falls on his face, yeah, you could see a lot of people turning on it. Absolutely.
So we have The Invisible Man coming up next from Blumhouse this month. It actually comes out on the 28th. So the fact that Blumhouse is releasing
Blumhouse?
Yeah, that's Blumhouse.
Oh no.
Exactly. So, and you know that one's gotten a lot of buzz since the trailer dropped. People love the trailer. We also got Halloween Kills at the end of this year that comes in October. But between those two movies, we have a movie called The Hunt that comes out in March, and then a Purge sequel. A Purge sequel is coming out in July as well.
Purge 5, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, really, all of those movies are going to do good. The Hunt looks really good.
The Hunt looks really good. And let me tell you, their marketing team, I mean, like if you watch YouTube, that shit is on YouTube, the ad, like every other commercial.
Yeah. So I mean, while this one wasn't great, and it's not gonna like break the box. Well, it didn't break the box office or anything. I really think those 4 films that we just named that are coming the rest of this year are all going to do huge numbers week 1 alone.
Purge
always does great. Purge and Halloween are going to do good. The Invisible Man is going to do a lot of good.
I don't know. And here's the thing. I just checked what the budget is for Invisible Man. $7 million.
See, and I feel like that is probably what he tells the movies that are just like, all right, look, if you can stay 7 million and below, we got you. Because Halloween Kills, if I'm not mistaken, the budget on that one is almost 20 million, right?
I'm not sure, but that 20 million is like normal. I mean, to me,
Yeah,
that in this day
that's
and age,
normal.
that's like a normal thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
7 million is crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm surprised they're able to do that level of special effects for
I
seven
know.
million dollars. Like, well, he's cracked the code, whatever that is. He's cracked some type of code over there. They need to check to see if he's embezzling money, because it's just like, even this movie, while Fantasy Island wasn't like huge special effects, they weren't the best in the world. To do that for $7 million just does not seem right.
I know, and let me tell you though, the one good thing about this cast, I mean, not necessarily the cast, but the one good thing about this film is anyone who was part of it, they got a free trip to go to Fiji because the movie was shot in Fiji. So I think the visual of the
Yeah,
island and the building and everything was really
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, the future of horror is really with Blumhouse, unfortunately. Like, they're the ones keeping it going. We get other good ones popped in and out of there. I don't know if they have anything to do with A Quiet Place. I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that's Screen Gems, I believe. But yeah, it's God, man. We're in for an interesting year with our favorite genre, JB. That's all I can say about that.
I know, man. Also, just some interesting stuff I came across before. Apparently, Batista was supposed to be in this movie, Dave Batista, and he had some other commitments, so he couldn't. And the character Mr. Rourke, which we said was played by Michael Pena,
Mm.
originally they wanted Nicolas Cage to play that. Do you think that would have been any different or worse?
I think it would have been way better.
You think so?
I think it would have been way better to see. Like, I am someone who, this in Nicolas Cage's second half of it, like this third leg of his career, the end. I've enjoyed like most of the roles he picked. He just gets to do crazy shit.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of his like this later half of his career.
Yeah,
I've seen more of the first half, and I'm not a huge fan. I mean, certain movies I liked, Gone in 60 Seconds, Snake Eyes, Face Off. Not really much there, but I don't know if you would have, if would have, with the way this movie was done and the writing and everything. I don't know if it would have made a huge difference, to be honest with you.
true. You're right.
Because I don't think Michael Pena solely brings down this movie. It's not him
Oh
alone that brings it down.
no. What he did was in the script. Like, I like what, even the fact, like, say he's stiff or whatever. I think that was the way that they wanted the character to be. It plays into the ending of the movie or whatnot. You see, he kind of lightens up towards the end there, but you know, the problem here is the script. The directing. I know you said something about it wasn't terrible. I think that you can get away with a okay director if you have a really solid script. The script just
Yes.
wasn't really solid.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. If you have a strong script and good characters and good acting, the director, you can get rid of that. However, the directing was bad. I mean, there was a lot of shots where you knew a jump scare was coming because of the way the camera was angled.
Yeah.
It's just like almost just waiting for someone to pop out. Like if someone's standing there, you're seeing the back of them, so you're just waiting for something to pop up. It was done way too predictable.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that completely. Well, that's it, bro, JB. I got nothing else, man. You got anything left?
I never had anything in the first place.
Well, I guess we can get into our fantasy and get the hell out of here from reviewing this movie. Go ahead and give me your social media, JB, so they can check you out.
I can be reached on Twitter at the P1JB. That's at THEP1JB. Of course, I am also on Facebook, and CEO Haize will get into our Facebook discussion group. Also, I want to remind everybody, for those Survivor fans out there, I started doing a Survivor podcast, just breaking down the episodes week to week. So it's available right now on our podcast, everywhere that our podcast is available. Go ahead and check it out, and leave me some comments on what you think.
I'm trying to get him to do it on video, people. He won't listen to me. I need y'all support. But you guys can follow me at CEO Haize. It's at CEO Haize. You can follow us collectively at the Film Bros Pod, and you can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. The Film Frequency Pod at gmail.com. Oh, And lastly, if you want to join our wonderful discussion group, just search the Film Frequency and you'll see where we are having a lot of great discussion about film. It's starting to be more TV discussion in there too, which I know people are looking forward to. So that's just your place to have all types of conversation about film and TV. It has nothing to, well, not say nothing, but it's not dependent upon the podcast. It's just a place to really geek out about film.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it, JB. Let's get the hell out of here.
You ready to get out of here?
Let's do it.
I think our ride is here. You know why?
Why?
Boss, the plane.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.